Sadashivat Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Shwara Om Namaste. Uh, we're back to chapter 12. Ok.
Verse 2.
A beleza do Gita, como se diz? The beauty of Gita. We have titled this course in Portuguese language as A Beleza do Gita.
Oh, pretty.
It is going on for more than 2 years. It's going to cross 3 years, and we haven't ended yet. Okay, so let's bring it to the context. We have seen Krishna uh, highlighting or emphasizing
Laguna.
or suggesting Bhakti Yoga to be essential, Bhakti Yoga to be the only way to find a way to God. It's interesting to say you find your way to God by Bhakti Yoga, of course, because you need to love something to feel pulled towards something. So Bhakti is love, appreciation, devotion, and and you have to have this love, find something most lovable so that you can move in the direction of that thing. And how you're going to move into the direction of that thing? You want to know it better. You cannot hug God or kiss God or anything, but you can just feel great devotion and love and appreciation and gratitude, and which compels us to offer something in return. The only thing we can offer in return, as we know, is to observe God's laws and principles, receiving results as opportunities or prasada.
Yeah.
So that way we say that the only way towards God is through devotion. Yes, that's a truthful statement. But to find a way towards God does not mean liberation or self-knowledge. It's just you begin the journey towards God until you develop a desire to know the saguna nature of God in details, and then later on to know God's true nature as nirguna atma, your very nature. So all of that requires a pull towards God, which manifests as devotion. And then it's right to say devotion is the only way towards God, but not the only way towards self-knowledge, even though even that cannot be challenged, because in the end, self-knowledge is to know the true nature of the self, which is God, but nirguna God. So it's all about God, as we know. But it's not, in a specific sadhana, as we know, because it is something that has to be present through all stages of our sadhanas. In the second verse of this 12th chapter, Krishna says, fixing the mind upon me with great faith, those ever steadfast devotees who meditate upon me and me alone are considered to be the best yogis. So that was in answer to Arjuna. Arjuna was
Greater.
asking again. Excuse me just for a moment. I'm going to. I need to ask you to unmute, Lynn. I thought I could mute you here, but I can't. Okay. Because when we are not on mute, we can hear our own commentaries, and sometimes even our own thoughts we can hear. Because sometimes the thoughts come a little bit verbalized.
I always love to chit chat with you, Arlindo.
Huh?
I love to chit chat with you.
Yeah. It's be my guest. and be my guest to interrupt the class so that we can chit chat about the teachings as well. So the answer to the question of Arjuna was a little bit vague. And he was saying that the yogis who have this steadfast devotion are the best yogis, né? The most loved, beloved, and so on. And so, as we have seen in the last class, he did not define whether it is a devotion towards Saguna God or Nirguna God. So, is it an Nididhyasaka? Is it a Yin Yogi, or it is just a Karma Yogi who loves Saguna Ishvara with great devotion? So, he did not say, okay? So, he just said that generally speaking, if you have a steadfast devotion towards me, you are considered to be the best of the yogis. And that's a good answer that does not hurt the feelings of anyone, regardless of the stage of each one of us in this process, you know. The guru has always, you know, a good guru has to be careful as well not to say things that may be a little bit rough and may, you know, may upset students. But students should not be upset because, you know, I say students are humans, students are still self-ignorant, and anything said a little bit wrong or with a different tone or in the wrong moment may chase the student away. Because the student, after all, is always looking for an excuse to walk away from the guru scripture package due to discomfort of this process. So, Swamiji reminds us that in truth, Saguna Bhakta and Nirguna Bhakta, you know, Saguna devotion and Nirguna devotion cannot be compared because they belong to two different orders or two different things, you know. So you cannot say which one is better for the simple reason that one prepares and the other concludes the journey. So you cannot conclude the journey without preparing yourself for the journey. You have to do a lot of training before you go to a marathon. And Vedanta is a marathon that requires great training, great preparedness. So without preparation, you have no chance. But strangely enough, you find big time people, especially in the West, going directly to the fragments of Jnana Yoga, Vedantic, Upanishadic Jnana Yoga, without any preparation. What is preparation? Without being a devotee of the Lord, without have gone through the understanding of the nature of Saguna Ishvara, and much less without being doing meditation upon God. If they do meditation upon something that they would like to experience. So we cannot compare these two. Only things of the same suborder, let's say. You can say, what do you prefer, coffee or tea? This is a genuine question, you know? But you cannot say, you know, things like you can even say you prefer coffee or rice. Yes, no, I'm enough of coffee. But you cannot say you prefer the cup or the coffee within the cup. No, you cannot. One is a means and the other the end. The cup is a means and the coffee is the end. So things like that, and explains these two paths. One is the path that prepares the individual, prepares the mind, refines the mind. The other is that allows knowledge to be assimilated and internalized. Therefore, remember, comparison is only among similar principles or similars, among similars. And Saguna Bhakti and Nirguna Bhakti can never be compared because the one is the means, the other is the end. And one prepares and the other concludes the journey. Saguna Bhakti is sadhana, that means the stepping stone. And only through Saguna Bhakti one has reached Nirguna Bhakti. And Nirguna Bhakti is non-dual Bhakti. In the beginning may appear as Dvaita, myself and Brahman. And then once one understands that Brahman is the only reality, and then it becomes Advaita, no division between the devotee and Brahman. But Saguna Bhakti is a Dvaitam Bhakti, and Nirguna Bhakti is the Advaitam Bhakti. Therefore, Nirguna Bhakti is Adebaha. One is the means, the other is the end. Saguna Bhakti is Bedaha, a means. And when we begin with Vedanta, we not necessarily need to understand that, We may introduce to the idea that the goal is farther ahead, but keep your mind on your intermediary goal, okay? And then be a Advaita, be a Saguna Bhakti, knowing that later on you're going to have to let behind Saguna Bhakti to go into Nididhyasana, the inquiry into the nature of the self as your own Atma. Everyone has to go through Saguna Bhakti, and everyone has to end with Nirguna Bhakti. You see, Bhakti is all through, which is Abhedaha Advaita Yana. Is the end of this process. Abheda Advaita Yana, Atma Yana. Without Saguna Bhakti, Nirguna Bhakti is impossible, as Swami likes to highlight again and again. Without Nirguna Bhakti, Saguna Bhakti is incomplete. Therefore, everyone has to go through both. Come to Nirguna Bhakti later on, which is the culmination of your journey, of your spiritual search for reality, for God, for the true self. It is a sadhana, yes, it's a sadhana. It's a different sadhana because as a Nirguna Bhakti, you are not going to do any actions, no mental actions, no verbal actions, no physical actions, no twisting, no repetition of mantra, nothing. No guided meditation, nothing. When you come to Nirguna Bhakti, you come to the very end of this process, which culminates with self-knowledge and moksha. And within Nirguna Bhakti, you're going to learn to follow the logic as presented by the Upanishads, which reveals the true nature of God as Nirguna Atma, your very own Nirguna Atma, your own self, which is free from any gunas. So which kind of bhakti, in which kind of sadhana is this? A sadhana of contemplation, assimilation, internalization, retain, internalization, retainancy. I don't know how to, a way to retain the knowledge, So you internalize and you retain by constantly remembering this, through our activities. Every time that's possible, we can free our minds to just remember, I am the consciousness behind the mind and the body, and I'm free and independent from anything of this world. So that is the sadhana. It's a very, very subtle sadhana that it's for very, very rare individuals because it's too subtle. And most people, when they get to these teachings, they have an approach to the teachings. They value the teachings but they approach the teachings more on the philosophical academic level. They want to understand the logic. And the point with this teaching is not you to fully understand the logic presented, but it is for you to test the logic upon yourself. You need to look at yourself, apply this knowledge, and then, existentially, you see, is it right? Are those statements correct? I'm now using myself as a lab. I'm applying these teachings within myself because in order to get this absolutely doubtless firm self-knowledge, I need to have a very, very existential, I don't want to use the word experiential, but existential certainty in regards to all these declarations of identity, the Mahavakyas of Vedanta. So a lot of people, they go through the sadhana, as I always say, more like academically, and they got the logic, they understood the logic, but they did not apply the logic, or did not, how you say, I said a word that describes better. They did not, you remember? I'm gonna have to.
Retain.
No. It's a
They
process
did not
by
retain the knowledge.
the process by which you retain, because we always, when we do this exposition, we try to find new words, because sometimes a word is enough to click better the understanding, the difference between academic and intellectual knowledge is you're going to get this knowledge. The logic is going to be clear, but now you have the logic. Now you have to put it to test. I have said test. You have to put it to test. You have to use yourself as a lab, a sort of a lab to verify, existentially, not to use the word experientially, directly verify if those statements. It's a very, very subtle world. This put the teachings, put these declarations to test. How you do that? Re-examine all the concepts and notions that we have about ourselves and reality and God. In the light of those teachings, we begin reanalyzing, re-examining our very experience in the light of every facet of the teachings to develop what? Doubtless conviction that the Upanishads are correct in what they state. Understand? It's different from academic knowledge. So I'm saying Krishna does not want to tell Arjuna that the question is wrong because you cannot compare, Nirguna Bhakti with Saguna Bhakti. So rather than say, no, you cannot do this question, blah, 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 the student, so I'm saying, has already quite some sense of inadequacy or complexes, as they used to say when I was a child, a kid, and so much so, Swami says that when the people come to talk to UG, they usually say, Swamiji, I'm sorry, but this may be a silly question, but I need to tell you. And Swami says very, very friendly, he says, no question is silly. Every question is silly once you know the answer, but no question is silly before you know the answer. Before you know the answer, every question is extremely important and relevant. Beautiful. Therefore, the student has a problem. Teacher does not want to just make or insult or injury the student by telling the student that he's not good enough. There is something wrong with you. We have enough of that. Human beings have enough of that. There is something wrong with you. You're not good enough. Therefore, Krishna does not say you are wrong. Krishna gave a very beautiful and intelligent, elegant answer. He says, Saguna Bhakta is superior, but Nirguna Bhaktas attain me. It's Krishna's mischief. It's not only during childhood days, but they say, according to some Puranas, they say Krishna was an odd child or a mischief, or I don't know how to say, child. But he says even as a Sadguru, he was still playing, with these mischiefs. So the idea is there is no question of choice. Therefore, Krishna says, Saguna Bhakti is indeed great, so that everyone will take Saguna Bhakti and move on in the process. Because most people are at the base. It's very rare to find a devotee or a disciple or a student which is highly qualified. 90% or more the people, they need Nirguna, Saguna Bhakti, They need to go in Saguna Upasana. And therefore, it's better speak knowing that it's going to have a positive impact on the larger number of people, Once a person has sufficient practice, Nirguna Bhakti, or Nirguna Upasana, Saguna Bhakti, Saguna Upasana, he can be moving, he can be sucked into or absorbed into, pulled into Nirguna Bhakti, which is otherwise Atma Yana, or more specific self-inquiry. No? So Atma Vichara, Brahma Vichara. The details we see right now and right here in the next document here. So I'm not going to repeat all his words. We have just gone through those introductions. Any and all descriptions in regards to Saguna Ishwara is what we call guna. Saguna dhyana means meditation upon the Lord with various gunas. Features comes from the gunas. All these descriptions are called guna. Saguna dhyana, the Lord various attributes describing. Yeah. Okay, where is coming this guna? Synonymous of descriptions. All these descriptions are called guna. So I think it means to say that any and all descriptions of the Lord, they are saguna descriptions. You cannot describe anything which is nirguna. All descriptions are saguna descriptions. And if you do dhyana or upasana, it is going to be saguna dhyana or nididhyasana if you have prepared your mind for nididhyasana. So, but at the beginning, Saguna Dhyana, Saguna Upasana is the sadhana suggested by the Lord because it's easier. The Lord with several features, several attributes, qualities, it's much more tangible for the mind to hold itself on it. Whereas Nirguna Dhyana, free from any features, qualities, properties, attributes, is more difficult. Why? Because we are used to contemplate and hold our mind on things that are supported by the five senses. So any knowledge we have of something, if it's not supported by any five senses, any one of these five senses, it's a little bit more difficult. Okay. So how are we gonna hold on to Nirguna Brahman in our meditation? So how are you going to hold on to something that there is no color, there is no smell, there is no touch, there is no... How are you gonna... the mind has trouble to hold on to something like that. And it's so subtle that people has trouble with it for many times for years, until he understands something that is a pointer that was presented beautifully, but incompletely by Nisargadatta Maharaj, saying, hold on to your very own conscious existence. Hold on to the subject who has five senses to contact the world of the gunas, but now you want to contact what? You have to hold your meditation upon what? Upon the subject, absolute Chaitanya, consciousness, Purusha, howsoever you want to say. So, and then Vedanta further goes what Nisargadatta presents to the world at the time. That's actually, this is a concept present in the spiritual world since forever. He got that concept from his guru. But rather than just turn your mind to the sense feeling, conscious existence, you just tend, you go, which is going to give you a beautiful samadhi, a beautiful experience of peace and ananda and so on, which is a little bit dangerous because it's still an experience. So the scriptures of the Upanishad says, focus, bring your mind and hold your mind upon the teachings that are going to reveal the true nature of the self, the true nature of God as the subject consciousness, your very, very nature. So you're never going to need, you're not going to need any one of the channels, to collect data through the five senses to hold on your mind on Nirguna Atma, because you have hold your mind now through a very sophisticated body of understanding on the subject principle, okay, which is consciousness, not accessible by any sense organs, yet the only reality and the true nature of the inquirer, the Nididhyasaka, the devotee. Therefore, meditation upon Nirguneshwara is very, very, very non-appealing for the large majority of people in the spiritual circles around the world. So why, and that brings us to that concept. People, they are not ready to go into Advaita. They prefer to stay as a seeker of reality within Advaita. So what is wrong with that? Vedanta says it's okay, but know that that is also ignorance. That is samsara. To hold your mind on some experience that you wish to have, or some sort of deity that you believe is going to give you protection and security and facilitating your realizations. So all of that is ignorance. Okay, if you know that is ignorance, and then it's good ignorance, because this is a compromise, this is a concession. I'm going to hold on to a certain ignorance, because from that level of ignorance, which is far superior than the ignorance of the samsaris on the material level. So from that level of ignorance, I can move towards self-inquiry and self-knowledge, which is beyond, now, which leads us, a combination is to understand your nature as beyond knowledge and ignorance. But to get there, you need to get good knowledge as well until you go beyond knowledge and ignorance. So most people are not prepared to do Nirguna Nididhyasana. And therefore, Krishna says, no, the best one is Saguna Upasana. Now it came to my mind, another way to look at it is people are doing Nididhyasana, and they have a pull towards consciousness, under the concept that it's free from any qualities, attributes of the guna. So it means to say what? I want to realize consciousness, which is not the mind, which is not the intellect, because it's original, nirguna, limitless consciousness. So I have a pull to realize my nature as that. but at the same time, I have a pool to purify my mind and to enjoy a purified mind, a wise mind to a certain degree. And then people should be asked, so what you believe to be better? Your love, your devotion towards nirguna, nirguna consciousness, let's say nirguna consciousness, or your saguna consciousness, your beautiful mind. You remember that movie, The Beautiful Mind? Huh? It was a very intellectual guy. I liked that actor big time. So you have a beautiful mind. Everybody appreciates your mind. So, and yet you want to discover a true nature as beyond the mind. And then you go to your guru, you ask, Swamiji, so what is best? My beautiful, super refined and purified and wise mind, or my true nature as consciousness? You cannot compare because they belong to two kinds of order. They are not similar. The mind belongs to Mitya. What is better? My the mind I had 10 years ago, totally materialistic and so, and the mind I have now, and then the Guruji will say, so the mind you have now is far superior, now because they belong to the same order. But so my mind, purified, wonderful, refined, wise mind, but not yet self-realized. But I want to get the knowledge of my true nature as nirguna consciousness. So what is the best? Of course, we would expect the Guruji to say, the best is nirguna consciousness, because it's limitless, this and that. But the true answer will be, no, you cannot compare. You did a great job to purify and refine your mind, huh? But you cannot compare that because they belong to two orders. One is Satya, another one is Mithya. There is no choice. There is no comparison between Saguna Bhakti and Nirguna Bhakti. There is no comparison between a refined, highly purified mind and limitless Nirguna consciousness. There is no comparison. You have to go through refinement of the mind, and later on, you must realize that your true nature is not the refined mind. The same way, you have to go Saguna, Nididhyasana, and then go into Nirguna Nididhyasana. Saguna Dhyana and Nirguna Dhyana, meditation upon the nature, the Saguna nature of Ishvara or Nirguna nature of Ishvara. There is no a comparison. They belong to two orders. Both, everybody has to go through both, and I'm bringing to the analogy that popped in my mind. Everybody has to go through the process of purification of the mind. Huh? So both are necessary. Everybody has to go through both. Refine, purifying, preparing the mind, developing more sattva guna, observing dharma, and so on, become more pure and pure. And then later on, you have to conclude your journey with self-inquiry and self-knowledge. Both sadhanas are absolutely necessary. They are different types. It's like two different kinds of dish, so I'm saying. Oh, he had the understanding on those days of a dish with carbohydrate and the other with protein, but not animal protein, I guess. So you have two options. So shall we get the chicken first or the spaghetti first? But I say, which one is better? And then you say, no, both are necessary. In the old days, they would say, eat the pasta first, the spaghetti first, and then the meat later. And nowadays, they even highlight that that's the best way to eat to avoid blood sugar spike, the protein at the end. Similar, they both help the body in their own way. Similarly, what Saguna Jnana can give, Nirguna Jnana cannot give, and what Nirguna, so on. Once you say both of them are compulsory, how are you to practice them? Krishna is going to talk about that later. Both are compulsory. So Krishna is going to elaborate. I don't want to jump the gun here. So it's like going to the college or going to the school, the high school. So both are necessary if you want to get a good degree and a good profession. So, and then both are absolutely necessary. You should go through all stages in your process of education. Both are required. Then if both are required, I will go for both simultaneously. No, you cannot begin simultaneously. This is also a good concept here, good point. You cannot go for both simultaneously. Morning to the school, evening to the college. No, you need to go through the whole process of high school and primary school and whatever, so that you have the base to understand the teachings on the high school and college, the teaching on the college. So you cannot do that simultaneously. And that reminds me as well that when I began teaching Vedanta, sharing these teachings, I knew that people were coming because they want the Yin Yoga Vedanta. And I was inclined to say that Karma Yoga can be taught and learned simultaneously with Yin Yoga. So I was expressing myself that way, okay? Because I knew people want to come for Yin Yoga. And in fact, when you come to Vedanta, Krishna presents the Yin Yoga teachings to Arjuna, and then Arjuna is not qualified. And then he says, so I have explained you the teachings on Nirguna Atma of Yin Yoga. Now I'm going to teach you Karma Yoga because you did not get it. So everybody was interested to come to Vedanta, especially around Shine World that was presenting the Yin Yoga with more emphasis. And to redirect the people to karma, dharma, and upasana was not easy at all because people did not have much the culture of devotion towards God, Very little was developed, I would say. If both are required, I will go through both simultaneously. It does not work, but I was suggesting that in the days. And the most difficult thing, I still suggest it nowadays because I get a few new people every month. They show, they gravitate a little bit, they come to some of my classes in the weekend, they disappear, or they come back later on. They stay with it for some time, and they came attracted to Yin Yoga. But by now I understand that they need to develop devotion first. They need to develop the understanding of Shwara system, the spirit of gratitude for this opportunity, the value of life, miracle of life. So I see that, and then I have to sell the concept of Karma Yoga, devotion, upas. I have to sell this spiritual practice to people who are mostly interested in Yin Yoga. And it's not easy, but if I don't do that, chances are that people are going to approach Yin Yoga without being properly prepared, and then they approach it again intellectually, academically, and then they are not going to get the results, which is a sense of freedom and limitlessness. Because you need to have devotion, you need to understand your relationship with Saguna God, to develop certain qualities that are going to allow you to enter, Yin Yoga, not as an academic, but as a true devotee of the Lord, making a huge effort to understand the nature, the real nature of God as Nirguna Atma, as identical to my nature as Jiva Atma. So going back, I was talking about this juggling with these two paths in order to include as many people as possible in my Brazilian Sangha. We had, Swami gives his example. We had one brahmachari in our ashram, and he used to attend 3 levels of Sanskrit classes at the same time. There we had all the 3 levels. One is the alphabet is taught. The second one, where Antonio was taught 3 levels, okay, of learning Sanskrit. And of course, we can guess that they have to be learned one step at a time in a graded manner, in order. Likewise, first I will go to college and then to school. No, don't do that. It's not going, oh, I'm going to go studying both simultaneous. No, don't do that. So, and as I was saying, people come, they study, they like to go into yin yoga, especially in the West nations, and then the direct path is there for that, supporting that concept. And then to sell the notion that they need to be prepare the mind through karma and dharma and vipassana is a difficult sell. Saguna Dhyana prepares them for Nirguna Dhyana. Therefore, Arjuna, do not ask which is better. Please, your question is wrong. Krishna did not say that, not to hurt the feelings of Arjuna. So the disciple already has some sense of inadequacy. Since we are talking about sense of inadequacy, how are we going to avoid this sense of inadequacy? The Guruji knows that the sense of inadequacy only goes away with self-knowledge. And therefore, every disciple who is not a yani, and disciples are anyani, they have a certain degree of sense of inadequacy. And why everyone has a sense of inadequacy? Because the identification with the body-mind as the body-mind is an identification with something, with an entity that is by nature full of defects and flaws and limitations. And then you see yourself with your limitations, your flaws and defects and this and that, and then you feel, oh, I could be much better. I have failed on this and that. How many times I have to repeat the same mistake? How many times I have to be irritable with this? How many times, the individual identified with the body-mind is going to experience of a sense of inadequacy, which is due to the limit nature, the inferior nature, the defect nature of the body-mind sense complex. So how are you going to resolve the sense of inadequacy? By realizing that you are not the complex body-mind, which is defect by nature, but you are consciousness beyond that which is beyond any virtue and any defect. Therefore, Guruji does not want to further, push on Jiva's sense of inadequacy. Therefore, he said, yes, Saguna Dhyana is better for you. He says, Saguna Dhyana is superior. Nirguna Dhyana reaches me. So, what an answer, Saguna Dhyana is superior. Nirguna Dhyana will reach me. everybody is satisfied. Therefore, he says in the second verse, there are some people who practice meditation upon me. He's going to say now in the second verse, what type of men we have to supply? Saguna man, the Saguna Krishna, either in the form of Ekarupa or Vishvarupa. Okay? But it's Saguna. No. Ekarupa, Vishvarupa is Saguna. Described, remember, Vishvarupa is also Saguneshwara as the totality of all properties and features of matter, of Prakriti, of the universe. Thus, there are some people who meditate upon me in the Saguna form with attributes, focusing their mind upon me, fixing their mind on me. There are some people who practice Saguna, Krishna, Dhyana. He's putting Krishna because Krishna is an avatar or a deity most popular for devotion and for meditation. They do not practice in fits and starts. On inspiration, they follow one day and thereafter they forgot, like the New Year resolutions. So no, they talk about, this verse talks about real people who are doing this work. How you say the verse? Steadfastly, no? Steadfastly focus mind without really serious, in the sense, not that they don't smile and are happy with what they are doing, but they are really committed, steadfast, committed, consistently committed, persistently committed, without failing. Some people practice Saguna, Ishwara, Jnana, or just Krishna, Saguna, Krishna, Jnana, and they are endowed with Paraya, Shraddha, they are endowed with intense trust in these teachings, in this process, teaching in me. So Krishna is talking as an avatar. He's talking about Sadguru, deity is still appearing in the physical form, but representing the supreme intelligence, which we call Saguneshwara. So they have intense faith in this process by which they will understand the supreme intelligence, and they understand that I am the karma paladatta, understand that everything I give back to them, I give back with the best possible intentions, giving them an opportunity to connect the dots. So they are going to have such a confidence in this process that they will never be complaining of me again and again. They are endowed with intense faith, which requires intense understanding of Ishvara as the supreme intelligence with its laws and principles. Because the benefit of Saguna Dhyana is not something in the physical material plane. God does not practice any material benefit. The benefit present is integral. God does not promise, I would say, any material benefit, even though people approach God at the beginning for material benefit. But God does not promise any material benefit. The benefit promised by God is what? Inner growth, expansion of the mind, inner purity, inner refinement, sensitivity, development of empathy, of love, compassion, refinement. These are all very subtle attributes. Okay, you cannot quantify these attributes. So it's so subtle that people, they say, what is in it for me? What is in it for me? I can't even, I have trouble to concept the notion of the Saguna God. And now that's why I'm with Saguna God. And now I see that the balance gained by this, that, Ishvara promise, that Krishna promise, is not material. Okay, in the beginning I said, okay, come to me, I'm gonna help you by removing the obstacles between your desire for material things and its accomplishments. But then later on he says, so I don't promise that. What I promise is inner growth, inner expansion, purity and sensitivity and love, compassion. So the person says, oh my God, I begin this relationship with you because I needed, I want to have a new car, a new house, a wife, a husband, children, and so on. And now you're telling me that the only real thing that you promise is inner growth, anything of value, of real value. Yeah? But by then, when the person gets in contact with this statement here, the person is already mature enough to take it in, and say, yes, now I have got enough purity of mind to understand that purity of mind is the highest goal within the improvement of the body-mind sense complex, preparedness of the body-mind complex. Therefore, we have to take enormous faith, confidence in this process, and that result, and therefore Krishna says we need intense faith, with intense faith that they will transform their inner personality. This meditation will transform one's inner personality, but it requires great confidence, trust, shraddha. That's how one has to approach Karma Yoga and Vipassana Yoga. So how are you going to tell that to people coming to Vedanta? I was one of my best students. She came public not long ago because she was under the influence of someone who was leading weekly meetings for study, of some scriptures, and he was passing the notion to people that intellectual understanding was synonymous of self-knowledge. I had to cut him off. And she came out openly to say that, so why I'm gonna be, meditating or contemplate about Saguna Ishwara, if the true deal, the true nature is Nirguna Brahman, I go for Brahman, but with vanity, with arrogance, with ego. Say, and then the guy, say, yes, of course, right. Just throw Ishwara out of the window, and go direct to Brahman. I had trouble in those days to tap into, to see what this guy was saying, because it would irritate my mind. And I was put in a situation and people are seeing value. They are being misled, seeing value. And if I cut this guy off, people are going to turn against me. And I got some of that as well, So anyhow, so intense faith in this relationship with Saguna Ishwara, making an effort to understand Ishwara as the law of karma, and conforming above all to the law of karma. There are other laws involved as well, but mainly the best understanding of Ishwara's inner nature is law, and the best law is law of causality, karma. This understanding will calm down my mind, my emotional mind, and but it requires incredible faith or confidence, which requires a good intellect to understand the nature of this relationship. Nothing is possible without understanding. A faith without understanding is a superficial faith, and as long as things go down, go south, as Ramji used to say, people are going to doubt that faith, that confidence in the Lord, because now things are going down, So that's how one should practice Saguna Dhyana. And then Krishna says, those people who practice this level of Saguna Dhyana with this kind of Shraddha, they are superior to all other devotees. They are the great people. So Saguna people have been glorified by the Lord here. So now Krishna, you will confuse Arjuna and everybody else in the next verse, saying that Nirguna Bhakta reach me and Saguna, what is the implied meaning? But Nirguna people will reach me. It means that Saguna people will not reach me. They will understand my inferior nature, and that is going to prepare them for reaching me. And reaching me, of course, does not involve time, space, and journey, in space, but understanding the identity between my nature and the very nature. Therefore, the idea here is do not compare without saying that clearly to Arjuna. That's what he's saying. Having restrained the sense organs, being even-minded towards everything, and being interested in the welfare of all beings, some devotees meditate upon the imperishable Brahman, which is undefinable, unmanifest, all-pervading, incomprehensible to the human intellect, immutable, immovable, and eternal. These people attain me, and only these people attain me. So it's two verses put together, which is a very rich verse. Swami says here and there that these are the most important verse of this chapter. The individual, they have restrained the sense organ, they have disciplined the sense organ. Of course, it means to say that they have done Saguna Upasana before. Okay? They have done meditation before. They have gone through the third D of discipline, a disciplined mind. So discipline you bring through Upasana, through Dhyana, meditating upon a symbol of Ishvara, restraining the sense organs and the mind, which jump from one notion, one concept, one desire to another. It takes huge discipline to restrain the sense organs and the mind. So here you say the people who have succeeded in restraining the sense organs and have succeeded in restraining the mind, now they have an even mind, a one-pointed mind. They see everything equanimously without ragadvesha pulling the mind here and there with attractions and repulsions. So the person has gone already through the Saguna Bhakti, Saguna Dhyana relationship, and he got restrained sense organs through discipline. He got one-pointedness. He got equanimity, towards all manifestations of the gunas, and being interested in the welfare of all beings. That relates to Dharma. So he is a Niskama Upasaka. He wants the benefit, the welfare of not only me and my fame, but everyone. So everything is included there. The first two lines, it was written all together, but the first two lines here address the process of preparedness, upon which, the devotee can later on meditate upon the imperishable Nirguna Brahman, which cannot be defined as this or that, which was never manifest or unmanifest, even though we say that Brahman is unmanifest, but it's beyond manifestation and unmanifestation. Unmanifest goes to the point that Brahman was never born, okay? But then even Sagunishwara was never born, is eternal principle, is the eternal intelligence that holds this entire cosmos in place. Sometimes physically manifest, sometimes unphysically manifest. So Ishvara, the intelligence and everything else is in truth not birth. They do not have any birth and that. But Brahman is said to be unmanifest because he's not subject to any apparent birth. It's all-pervading, incomprehensible to the human intellect. It's unchanging, immutable, immovable, eternal. The people who come to this level of meditation, they are said to be nididhyasakas. Only then will attain me, because you cannot attain this understanding unless you become a nididhyasaka. You will not understand by by trying to learn more about the nature of Saguna Ishwara, more and more about the nature of Saguna Ishwara, and observing the nature of Saguna Ishwara as laws and principles, holding this place, managing this place, it serves only for observing these laws and principles to avoid mental disturbance, 24/7. Because if you don't behave in harmony with the environment and its laws and principles, you're going to experience mental disturbance. A mental disturbed mind cannot go into nirguna, nididhyasana. So they attend me, only they will attend me. They have gone through all this process that allows them to understand my true nature as the most subtle concept existing within the scope of human experience. There's nothing to that level of subtlety. That's why people believe that we are crazy, because, this nirguna God does not exist. So there are some other people who follow Nirguna Ishvara Dhyana, otherwise called Nirguna Brahman, as part of Jnana Yoga sadhana. And this Jnana, only this Jnana Yoga, I already said in my introduction, says Swamiji, is the highest stage of Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, these three verses, Krishna is introduced, verse 3, 4, and 5, introducing Jnana Yoga, which is the practice of Nirguna Ishvara Dhyana. Very interesting. Here he using the practice, So Vedanta cannot really be practiced, but can be remembered from moment to moment as often as possible until it no longer requires remembering. Okay, so we stop here. We come back tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Om Ishvara. We meet tomorrow again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alinda.